Bannock Lala Fela Porrick a Gach Dinna Fad. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. I'm Maryrose Lyons, host of the Chatting GPT podcast, and today we have a real treat for you. We have a guest who is well-known serial entrepreneur, tech founder from Ireland, Sean Blanchfield. He came on and we had a really great conversation. It was so good, I couldn't bring myself to cut a single minute of it. So what we're going to do today is a little bit different. Today, as it's St. Patrick's Day, we're going to kick things off with Sean Blanchfield's, let's just call them his unfiltered views on what exactly Ireland needs to do now to position ourselves to really win in the AI generation. So that's what we're going to listen to now. And then come back tomorrow, because then we have another conversation with Sean where he is sharing his views on the evolution of AI agents, the power of OpenClaw, and of course the inside story about his latest venture, Jentic. So grab your cuppa and have a listen to Sean Blanchfield conversation on Chatting GPT about what Ireland needs to do now to survive for the AI generation. So Sean, thank you very much for joining us on Chatting GPT.
Pleasure. You're too kind. It's an honor.
So I think what I'm hearing is, and I think you'd agree, like we're a fast follower and we're not a leader. Like we're not building any LLM frontier models in Ireland, and I think it's very unlikely. What are your thoughts on what we should be doing to shift Ireland from being good at implementing other people's AI to actually building infrastructure that users depend on?
I tend to stand back and think about the economic side of it, long-term economy. How do we make sure that we actually do have an economy in 10 and 15 years? And there's plenty of other concerns about education and literacy. One of the number one challenges in AI for me is that I see in my company, which is a software engineering company, that AI has replaced software engineers. And not entirely, but has replaced the work of coders, right? Which is the first 5 to 10 years of your career as an honors computer science graduate. Is now done by Claude Code. So it's possible. We do it incredibly effectively. And so do software companies around the world. And I know it's coming for everyone else. So what does that future economy look like if you have not a full wipeout of the professional classes? Doctors, I think, are safe, but there will be AI assisted, of course. Software engineering really changes. Law, like radically changes.
I know, like a lot of people are very worried about like junior engineers coming in. They want to say, okay, yes, we want you to use AI, but they have to be able to learn and sharpen those amazing brains so that they can carry on and become senior engineers and have all the knowledge.
Engineers right now, if you are like a really smart 20-year-old, like just jump in to the middle of it. It's your revolution. If someone's kid is like doing computer engineering and likes it, it's not the end of their life. Their revolution is on right now, and they have time to get into the middle of it and become an important player. And it doesn't matter that they're 20, because if you're 47 like me, a lot of what you learned over the last few decades just went out of date.
Can I ask you a question though, Sean? There's an awful lot of talk about this, jump in and be a part of it and so on. But then I hear and I say, then that means that they all have to be entrepreneurial mindset people. A large majority of them don't want to be. They just want to get a good job and work and live and maybe have kids.
So maybe this is a leading indicator. What pieces are left in the economy? If labor gets automated, how does wealth redistribute? How does it? We could expect it to aggregate. We could expect someone running an AI-powered business, a highly AI-powered business, to do well out of that business, right? So that you get more aggregation of capital towards business owners, right? This all sounds like Marx, right? It is, but less redistribution of wealth. I was in the Students' Union back in the day, although I wasn't a Marxist. I knew some of them. And
I used to be a Marxist, but I'm all right now, said the venture capitalist.
I have reread some recently. Yeah, and even for those local, say in a country like Ireland, if you have local businesses that are doing well, let's say it's a law firm and it basically does your law more or less automatically, and it has 3 people in it who own it, and they're just conducting a lot of AI. But let's just remember that they are basically just reselling ChatGPT. So who's really doing well there is ChatGPT. They're just adding some profit margin on top of the American AI sitting underneath it. So if you just play this forward, there's a risk that a lot of our services industry, in particular, the physical industries are anchored on atoms, which are safer. But for the services industry, where it's all about information, become pretty thin resellers of American AI. And at the same time, professional classes are wiped out. That's like puts a hole in terms of wealth redistribution right through the economy, all the way down to, are people going for dinner in restaurants anymore, right? We need to get into a position where we own some of this thing, where we can tax it, where the supply chain runs through our country.
What about the valleys of Wexford and Cork? What can we have?
Yeah, here's 3 levels, right? First one is regulatory. Clearly, this is getting regulated. Hopefully, those regulations get walked back a bit just for the good of Europe. Regulations are important and there will be regulations. And we have an interesting place in the world in terms of being a pragmatic place to be regulated.
Yes.
That isn't like naturally anti-business, which is the case in some other places. So that's a place. A really important one is data centers. I've put a bit of work into this. I've spoken to a lot of people, ranging from people who build data centers to people in Airgrid and so on. And it's in the papers a lot now. We host an outsized amount of the cloud as it currently is, which is great for our economy. We could do the same for AI. AI actually needs to run somewhere. Inference is what we call it in centers.
What's the difference between a data center and an inference center?
Nothing really. More NVIDIA chips and less Intel chips, but it's really a mix of both.
We just call them inference centers and then we'll get them in every community like really quickly.
There could be a difference in terms of where you choose to locate them, because AI is slow anyway. It doesn't necessarily need to be like super close to the data infrastructure, to the fiber. And they might be more energy hungry, but more or less it's a data center of another type. So
data centers all the way to go. Now, the argument people make about data centers is they use so much electricity. So what's the solution to that?
I don't have a solution. But we can start with identifying the problem. So it's all about grid constraints. It's all stopped because people can't get electricity connections. Amazon not building that data center outside the M50. It was going to be, what was it, a 200, 300 million investment they wanted to make, and then they pulled it. That reverberates internationally as Ireland's not doing business anymore. And our companies are going around building these centers somewhere else because they can't be built here. This is really dropping the ball. I think there's a strong argument to say that we need to pull out every stop to try to fix generation and transmission of energy so that we can build these data centers. And we don't need to start next year. We need plans that we can be trusted to pull off that will materialize in the 10-year horizon so that people can plan to build their data centers against that. And some more on where the energy comes from. We don't seem to have much of a plan beyond natural gas at the moment here, which is awful. Data center, like AI is energy hungry. If you do it the Jentic way, less energy hungry because it's about workflows and that's about AI making it up on the spot. But whichever way this works out, there's a huge energy demand. It really wants cheap, clean, reliable energy. Yeah. If a country has cheap, renewable energy, I will go there. The investment will follow that. This is an interesting situation. We have this huge economic driver to fund or to justify the build out of green energy here.
Pragmatic regulatory environment. We have already people who know how to build data centers. We have the clients of data centers here. The only bit that's missing is the connector, which is the clean, green energy, correct?
I remember looking at the school window being told the red cloud is coming, right? And all that stuff. Yeah. But this is anachronistic at this point. And in hindsight, the opposition to nuclear energy globally has probably killed the planet. Not quite killed the planet, but done untold environmental damage because we haven't embraced what's a really highly clean, abundant energy source, which has become a lot safer. And now we have modular nuclear reactors on the way. And we have a law preventing us from even considering it, which is bizarre. So we need to explore this.
I think the nuclear thing in Ireland is like the abortion referendum. It was touched in the 80s and it was very painful and we didn't want to go there. And then we came back and we looked at it again with more mature eyes and with more international and diverse eyes. And look where we got to. So it's the same kind of topic. We have to have some politicians who are not scared to bring nuclear into the discussion.
It is happening. Last year, it was not mentioned. This year, it's mentioned in the newspapers about once a week. I saw Michael McDowell in the Irish Times was talking about it in his column this week. It's coming up, which is nice just to see in the Irish discourse that we are beginning to talk about it. But we absolutely have to. Come on. Which is why we're doing that. We have certain clusters of industry in Ireland because, frankly, the huge success of the IDA. Right? Yes. We have global industry in software, pharma, financial services headquartered here. All this AI needs to be applied in industry. That's different from inventing the AI. It's applying it, it's connecting it up, it's all of that stuff. And basically everyone I know in my field is done. We don't tend to do consumer apps, right? We're in business building software for other businesses. Yeah. So we have all the ingredients and we have these natural clusters of these global industries based here where we can put this together and actually apply it and grow, which is the kind of business that we're doing in Jentic. Our psyche has changed, right, in business. Not totally, but it's changed in a lot of places because I think a lot of us are more globally exposed in our careers. We've stood shoulder to shoulder with the peers in our companies around the world and realized that they're no smarter than us.
I hope everyone listening is getting inspired. And you know what? When there is a local election or a general election on, ask them, what are they going to do about clean energy and ensuring that we evolve, because we have to do something very quickly. But we're going to ask you one last question. How do you step away and how do you make the time for just deep thinking and non-digital stuff?
Stepping away happens by itself because we have a 5-year-old here in the house. I think it's just a shout out. We had the late John Purdy who recently passed away at a session that I run a monthly meetup, and he gave us his life story. And I remember one thing I really took away from him talking about his career and his life was when you're with your family, it's family time. Yeah. So that stepping away is compulsory. But if I need to find space for creativity, and by the way, I think this is incredibly important when you're working with AI because it's information overload from all angles. And it's very easy to end up doing the busy work for the AI or finding yourself in a position where it's like you're doing the AI's homework, right? And what's that about? That's not a high leverage thing. You're supposed to be the human, not the assistant. So finding a place to get back to your own core creativity, the thing that the machines can't do, right? What should we be doing that we're not doing, or what insights can you bring? Because the AI doesn't have creative insights. It might look like it sometimes, but it's just working with what you gave it. If it's not in the training set, it's not going to come back out. It does have the sum total of humanity's knowledge in it, which is very useful. But it's not going to make that creative leap. It would not have.
Don't create something brand new.
I used the example before. I was trying to find a good one. It might be a bit lofty. Einstein comes up with general relativity and that it's not gravity, it's warped space-time. That's a bit original. There's no way the next version of that is coming out of an LLM, at least as we know it today.
On that note, Sean, I'm so grateful for the chat. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. You're such a clear communicator. Sinna will, as we say. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sean Blanchfield on his views for Ireland. If you'd like to listen to more Sean Blanchfield, you can tune in tomorrow and we'll be dropping the second half of the interview where he'll be talking about agents and AI and, of course, Jentic. If you like this show, please support us. Give us a follow, give us a rating. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of your day.